Hello, my name is VinnyDenny1 and welcome back to a new video. So a while back when I made Goodbye David's scrapped version with Goku and a whole nother ending to Season 1, I thought to myself, I have a lot of scrapped videos that I just never made or never published. Be fun to share with you guys, huh? Alright. I think I know the first one to show you guys, and that is Richard and David versus Nintendo. Out of all videos I'm about to share with you guys, this is arguably the hardest one I've ever worked on. So how this video would start out is that David and Richard find out about the Nintendo Switch 2, and they get very excited. But they see the prices and they are not happy. They end up getting so mad that they end up going to Nintendo headquarters and demanding the price drops, but oh my god. Nintendo doesn't care, and oh my god, reading this is giving me a headache. They hypnotize Richard and David with the new games, the new Donkey Kong, new Mario Kart, Silk Song's there, and they end up pre-ordering it immediately. Yeah, I think you guys would understand why I had to cancel this video. One, it was not funny at all. And the main script was them, like, reacting to the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer, but they were just screaming, and I think that's the lowest sense of humor, is just screaming and being mad. So those are a couple reasons why I had to cancel it. Plus, by the time it was actually in development, no one was really talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 anymore. I think it was like a month after the Nintendo Switch 2 got revealed, so it was just very late to the party, and it was really not that funny. Alright, but the next canceled video is Miku! Alrighty, so how this one would go is that David really wants to go to a concert, and he's inviting Richard, and obviously Richard doesn't want to do anything David wants to do, but David somehow convinces him, and they end up going to this concert, and Richard has no idea who it's about, what the songs are, yada yada blah blah blah, but there's a big screen that like rises from the stage, and Miku appears. And Richard is, like, furious. He's like, this isn't even a real person. Why am I here? Richard really wants to leave, but David convinces him to stay and watch. And it does, like, that SpongeBob, an hour later. And Richard ends up fangirling over Miku, and he really likes it. And that's how it ends. So there's a couple reasons to why this was scrapped. One, it was just screaming again. While they were reacting to Miku, David would be screaming, and Richard would be also screaming, but in anguish, not with David originally. And I really wanted to do Vocaloid for the first time in the Richard and David series, but I wasn't sure I wanted it to be Miku. I wanted the Vocaloid character that was commonly requested, and that was V1. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to mention that Miku was supposed to be the first character in Season 2, but she ended up getting replaced by V1. In the end, I think I made the right choice replacing Miku with V1. The V1 video I made I thought was much funnier. It was just, it was literally a jab at my channel for not returning to Richard and David for so long. Literally me in the Saharan desert burning alive. Your creator is on a vacation. Something like that. And V1 like takes over the channel. I thought that was funny. I thought it was way better than whatever I wrote in the Miku script, and again, in the end, I think it was the right choice. Alright, the next canceled video is Richard and David versus the Knights from Hollow Knight. So how this one would go is that David has lost a bug in his bug collection, and he asks Richard for help. Richard doesn't really care, but he ends up finding the knight by accident, and he says, I found your bug, and the knight just attacks Richard. If that sounds familiar, that's right, I used this same exact script on the Hornet video. But wait, you may be asking yourself, so if you use this script but for Hornet, why didn't you use it for the knight? Well, that's because of one little reason. The knight does not talk. Now, I know that sounds like a really silly reason, but I love it when I can have a character that goes against Richard and David that can talk. If they just sit there silently, I just think it's the weirdest thing. And plus, I like to occasionally give voice to the opponents of Richard and David. And the knight just standing there, it didn't work for me at all. But the reason why I did Hornet is because she does talk. She says, "Sha, get goo and stuff like that. Plus, when this video was in development, Silk Song literally just came out, so I had a really golden opportunity to make something funny and new and make something based off something that was popular. And I'd like to mention, usually when I make these videos, I send drafts to a couple people just to see if it's like good, if anything could be improved upon. And the absolute goat known as Blenderhead said, "You know what? I'll make you a little animation for this." And I was like, "Oh, okay, go wild." And he made this masterpiece. So yeah, in the end, I think this was the best decision I could have made, taking that script from the night and just giving it a new look with Hornet was probably the best thing I could have done, and Blender's addition to the video just made it even better. Alright, but the next canceled video would be... would be Richard and David versus iShowSpeed. Yeah, so I'm not gonna go in the full details of the script because it's, looking back on it, it's probably the worst video I could have made. But all you guys need to know is that oh my god, that Speed and David would bark at each other and whoever barked the loudest would win. I don't know what I was thinking for this script. It was so stupid. Alright, let's forget about that one and move on to something that's kind of interesting that got cut, and that would be Richard and David versus Thanos. So how this would go is that David brings the jelly beans back. The jelly beans returned from David and Richard versus Arthur Morgan. Oh my god. But how this one would go is that David gets jelly beans, but they're not jelly beans. They're the Infinity Stones. And when Thanos shows up to obviously get the Infinity Stones, David eats them, and he just snaps his fingers, and the whole world blows up. That... God, that's how it ends. The only really good reason why I deleted this from memory is because I think it was like 30 to 20 seconds long, which I usually like to make my videos long, like 40 to 50 seconds, and I couldn't think of anything else to add to make it longer, so it was cut because of how short it was. The next and final thing I want to share with you guys is Richard and David versus the fans. Now, when I say fans, I don't mean the thing that's on your ceiling, I mean you guys, the viewer. Now, this had only ever been an idea. I never did the voiceovers, I never did the pictures, I never really worked on it. It was just an idea in my head that I'm glad I shut down instantly. So the idea behind this one is that I would select a random subscriber and, you know, they would be able to voice themselves in a Richard and David video and they would give their own script. And looking back on it, like I said before, it wasn't a really smart idea, and I'm going to tell you why right now. Now, there's really only one reason, but it was a good enough reason to not make the video, and that was because I was scared of the viewer that was going to get picked. They would get harassed by people that were jealous that they didn't get picked. Anytime I make a YouTube video, the one thing I'm really scared of is creating conflict. And I try to create as much positivity as possible, and I do think if I went through with this idea, there would be some conflict. I do think people would be jealous of the person I picked to be in the next Richard and David video. So yeah, I hope you guys understand. Something like this, I don't think I'm ever gonna do just because I'm scared of what might happen next. Alrighty, well, that's about everything I wanted to share. I do have more canceled video ideas that I think I'm gonna do for part 2. So if you guys are interested in that, please let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, please tell me if I should have never canceled some of these videos. I would really like to know your opinion. And also, if you scroll up a little bit, can you hit that like button, please? Sorry, that was corny. Alrighty, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you had a wonderful day, and as always, peace out.